Just 9 days ago, pro-Trump protesters stormed into the U.S. Capitol, and now there have been other threats made across the country for more protests this weekend. And Louisiana law enforcement says they are bracing for a potentially large protest at the state capitol. Republican lawmakers in Southeast Louisiana are asking their constituents to stay peaceful. Devin Bartolotta explains what's expected.
Baton Rouge is braced and ready as the FBI has warned of armed protests at all 50 state capitals this weekend. Louisiana officials say they're creating a multi-agency command center, although there are no specific substantiated threats here.
I haven't heard anything formal. Certainly I've heard what the news has been reporting, but as far as any type of organized protests, I'm not privy to any of those at all.
State Rep. Ray Garofalo is one of several Louisiana Republicans condemning political violence. State Senator Patrick McMath said in a statement, quote, "While I will always support peaceful protests as they are part of the foundation of our democracy, there is no place for violence in our political process. I encourage those attending any upcoming rallies to remain peaceful and treat law enforcement with the respect they deserve." Trump supporters have peacefully gathered at the Capitol many weekends in a row, but with suspicion the rallies could escalate on Sunday, Louisiana State Police, the FBI, and 10 other agencies released a joint letter, writing, quote, "Criminal activity, the destruction of property, and the intentional incitement of violence prevents others from peacefully expressing their First Amendment rights and will not be tolerated." The resounding message: if you're going to the Capitol, go with peace.
If anyone wants to go out and utilize their First Amendment free speech rights to let themselves be heard, do it peacefully. Don't do it with any types of illegal activities or destruction. It's not fair to those people that have worked so hard to build those businesses, and in this case, the Capitol. It wouldn't be fair to the citizens of Louisiana.
Devin Bartolotta, Eyewitness News.